Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, and this is video number 555. 555. And you know what that means? That means it's time for the Scarlatti Escapade. Yes, this is going to be quite a project. Scarlatti, as some of you may know, that's Domenico Scarlatti. Domenico wrote 555 keyboard sonatas. And so in honor of Scarlatti's sonatas and for my 555th video, we are launching the Scarlatti Escapade. Now, this is not quite what you think it is. I am not going to talk about every Scarlatti sonata in order, in piles and whatnot. I think that would probably be insane. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them. I'll get through a bunch of them, but I'm doing this in a completely different way from for example, the Haydn Symphony Crusade or the Bach Cantata Schlepp or some of the other large-scale projects on which we've embarked. In this particular case, because of the nature of the music, I'm taking these Scarlatti sonatas one at a time. Yes, one at a time. But here's how it's going to work. I'm going to pick one and play it for you. And we're going to enjoy it because the music is astonishingly wonderful. Absolutely marvelous. But I invite you to tell me what your favorite Scarlatti sonata is, or to pick one that you particularly enjoy. And I mean one. Just pick one, because I'm going to look at the ones that you've picked, and then for future episodes or videos in the Scarlatti Escapade, I will select one of the ones that you've chosen or another one that I've chosen. We're going to be very informal about it and just have a good time, because the point here is to get you and others to simply participate in the joy of listening to this unbelievable body of extraordinary keyboard music. So you listen to some Scarlatti, play some, find something you like, tell me what it is, tell me why you like it. I'll read why you like it, as I did with the world's most beautiful memories, and we will very, very gradually make our way through a passel of Scarlatti sonatas over the next 20 or 30 years or so. There is no rush. There's no reason why we need to feel obligated to do all 555 of the little suckers. We're just going to have a good time exploring, because that's what this music is for. It's for exploration. It's for pure enjoyment. Scarlatti called it that. He wrote them for pleasure, so that we could just have a grand time together listening to this absolutely sensational music, most of which was composed for the Princess, what was her name, Maria Barbara or something like that, or I don't know, she had 25 names, it was very long. She ultimately became the Queen of Spain. She started out in Portugal and then became the Queen of Spain, and Scarlatti wrote all this stuff for her. Or maybe it was the one Boccherini was hanging out with who started out in Portugal. Nah, maybe not. I don't know. There were a bunch of Italian composers who wound up in Spain. Scarlatti was one of them. Don't correct me to get the record straight. Nobody cares. I don't care. But he was in Spain. And the point of his being in Spain is that his music picked up all kinds of color and melodic habits from the Spanish folk music that he heard. And it really is extraordinary stuff. It's also extraordinary because although we will sample Scarlatti played on both the harpsichord and the piano, these pieces were written for the harpsichord with the harpsichord in mind, and they do things that truly sound best on the harpsichord. And I'm going to show you that with the first choice. But let's talk first about what a Scarlatti sonata is. Now, Domenico was born in 1685, which was the same year as Bach and Handel. It was a very good year for music generally and for Baroque music in particular. His father, Alessandro, who I think I said was Antonio back, I don't know why, Alessandro Scarlatti, was famous for inventing, he was very prolific and was famous for inventing the solo cantata, which was for voice and continuo. That was a simple collection of two recitative and aria pairs on a poetic text, usually miserable. and there he wrote like billions of them. Alessandro and Domenico, whose father was nothing if not pushy, could not wait to get the hell away from the guy and do his own thing. And so he wound up in Spain, where he wrote these sonatas. You know, it's funny how lucky we are that they even exist, because in Scarlatti's lifetime, only 30 of them were published. He published them as esercizi, exercises, numbers 1 through 30. And the rest of them, they exist only in, I believe, 2 manuscript copies in books that were bound as presentation copies for the Queen. And that's why we have them. And if those things hadn't survived, we would not have them, which would be a tragedy, because this is one of the monumental, truly monumental, and most extraordinarily colorful and individual body of work in the entire Baroque period. It really, really is. Now, as far as performances go, everybody does Scarlatti. Some people have done them fabulously. Vladimir Horowitz made a specialty of being an amazing Scarlatti pianist. Mikhail Pletnev on the piano, Horowitz, of course, on the piano, Martha Argerich, and the great harpsichordist, Susanna Ruzickova. I'm going to be able to play you some of her recordings. Ralph Kirkpatrick, who actually gave us the numbering of the sonatas that we generally use. They have K numbers for Kirkpatrick, and so we are going to observe K numbers. There are also L numbers for Longo, and there's a 3rd or 4th catalog as well. We're sticking with K, because that's the most commonly encountered way of identifying particular sonatas. None of them have titles, although a couple sort of do. There's something called the Cat's Fugue. There are a few other things that are Scarlatti sonatas, but the truth of the matter is you just go by number. It's painting by numbers. We're going by the numbers. And as far as these recordings go, there have only been like 3 or 4 complete sets. There's one on Nimbus, and there's Carlo Granti on Music and Arts. There's an ongoing series on Naxos. That's I guess it's about 2/3 of the way done. There is an ongoing series on Tatchet, which we'll get to use some samples of. And then there is the classic complete by Scott Ross on Erato, which I don't have permission to use, damn it, but which is really extraordinary. This is sort of the reference edition, but frankly, not far behind. I wouldn't even say behind, just different in its way, but equally virtuosic and brilliant is Peter Jan Belder. And this is on Brilliant Classics. He's done them all, and these I can play you and will. And so we're going to have a grand old time listening to outstanding performances of these sonatas. Now, a sonata in Scarlatti's day, as he defined it, other people did not define sonata in other ways, but the Scarlatti sonatas are generally, not 100%, but generally, single movement works. Sometimes they appear in pairs, united by key. And you can play them together or separately. It doesn't really make that much difference. But these are single movement works in 2 halves, both of which are repeated. That's it. It's AABB. Boom. That's your Scarlatti sonata. They last anywhere from about 2 to somewhere around 7 or 8 minutes, with the average being between 3 and 5 minutes. And it's unbelievable within this seemingly restricted form just how much color and energy and excitement and melodic amplitude and oh my God, these are amazing. They just ooze personality. And I'm going to start us off right now playing you an entire sonata with the repeats intact, because I want you to hear how they break down so you can get a sense of it. The general tenor of these things is that you have an opening section and then a conclusion for the first half, which does something catchy. There's some sort of cadential formula, that is, that emphasizes the key that it's settling into in a very, very catchy way. And then the second part starts in a different key and works its way back to that wonderful cadential formula. But along the way, absolutely anything can happen. And so for my first selection in the Domenico Scarlatti Escapade, I have chosen K261. Doesn't that tell you a lot? I think it's in B major. I could look. I don't care either. It's K261. Now, K261 begins with a somewhat lyrical, spindly kind of theme that wanders into some fairly unusual harmony before coming to rest on a very catchy fanfare figure. Da-da-dum-bum-ba-bum, ba-da-dum-bum-ba-bum. It's as simple as can be. You can hum it. It's very, very catchy. Then the second half is pure flamenco guitar music arranged for the harpsichord. I mean, we're talking, you hear the castanets and the people going, it's flamenco. In fact, it has the sort of machine gun rapid repeated note figuration that really only sounds best on the harpsichord. It really does. It doesn't sound as good on a piano. You can do it. Someone like Martha Argerich or Horowitz, I mean, somebody who has that kind of, pistons for fingers can do these repeated note formulas very well. But the harpsichord does it naturally. And this is not just repeated notes, because each time this repeated note figuration pops up and you hear it on 3 different scale levels, the repeated notes happen 80 times. So we're talking about some serious machine gun fire here. And that's what it is. This is a Gatling gun, but it is absolutely based in the rhythms and sounds of Spanish folk music and guitar music in particular, which is often imitated in these Scarlatti sonatas. And it's simply extraordinary. And after that happens, the music continues on its sort of strange harmonic way, passing through different landscapes on its way back at the last minute to that wonderful cadential formula that brings the piece to its conclusion. So let me now play you K261 to embark upon the Domenico Scarlatti Sonata Escapade. And the performer, as I said, is Peter Jan Belder, harpsichord on brilliant classics. Actually, he sometimes plays a forte piano because early forte pianos were buzzing around at this time. And a few of these pieces were also written for the organ. So there's a range of keyboard instruments that we're going to hear in performing these works. And they work no matter what you do them on. But boy, they are meant for the harpsichord. And I think hearing this sonata, you will agree. You'll agree by just from the sound of it that this is true harpsichord music. Here we go. The escapade begins. Amazing. Great stuff, isn't it? Absolutely delicious and so colorful, so full of character, so full of arresting detail, harmonic interest. I mean, the guy was just a genius of invention, even though he's working on a rather small scale within a somewhat restricted form. It doesn't matter. You don't notice it. I mean, this is just a vessel into which he pours the most wonderful imaginative flights of fancy, and it's going to be an absolute thrill for me, and I hope for you, to explore this unbelievable body of work. It really will be fun. So go listen to some Scarlatti, pick out one sonata that you would like to hear. Let me know what it is, and we will take this wherever our imagination points to, because there is an unlimited range and variety of work that we can explore in the Scarlatti Sonata Escapade. Keep on listening, folks. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to this. Take care.